Good evening, lamb chops. It is I, your favorite fluffy vampire, Bluma. Hi, Jose. Hi, Mango. Hi, hi. I just really liked the ambiance of the rain. Just seeing as how close we are to the ending of this one, I just wanted some ambiance, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, hope everyone's day is going good. It's so cold here. I'm so cold. It's true. So yeah, I think we'll just get into it, yeah? No reason to beat around the bush or nothing. We know why we're here. It's for book club, baby. Okay. Let's see if my nose gets stuffed up again for some reason. That was the first time losing consciousness. Oh yeah, we caught the criminal last time. And then passed out because we got shot. Yeah, we saved the grandson, got shot. That's what happened. That was my first time losing consciousness. You often hear of regaining consciousness on top of a bed, but this was my first time actually experiencing it. Hello? Are you okay? Realizing that I was awake, a young doctor called out to me. I didn't intend to respond, but it seems my body language had told him I was conscious. Your day was alright. Wish my back wasn't killing me. Oof. Yeah, that sucks. Like, whenever your back or neck hurts, it's just, like, extra awful, because it's just, like, literally nothing you can do and everything causes pain. I'm so sorry. My head was wrapped in bandages. The scratches all over my body had also been treated. My sense of pain also returned with my consciousness, causing me to groan from the intense pain shooting all throughout me. Don't try and get up. Just stay laying down, please. It seems like you took quite a few blows to the head. I want you to stay rested so we can monitor your condition for at least the next 24 hours. Where is this? This is my clinic. Pleased to meet you. My name is Irie. I remember that this young doctor was the one in the car who headed the opposite way earlier. Is there somebody there here? Where's Oishi-san? Ah, I'll call him over. There's no smoking inside the clinic, so I had to have him smoke outside. Dr. Irie left the room to go call Oshi. The scenery outside the window was tinted with gold. The pouring rain had stopped, with the voices of the Higurashi heralding the cooling temperature. I felt that the tone of the Higurashi's voices were comforting. Eventually, I could hear heavy footsteps coming closer, which reckoned to be Oshi's. The fog that was enveloping my head slowly faded back to reality. What had happened since then? What had happened to the boy? What about the reinforcements from Tokyo? The door to the room flew open, allowing Dr. Irie and Oshi to enter. Ha, so there's no serious damage, is there? I can't promise that. I assessed the wound to his head. It was dangerous the moment I saw it. Got it. I want to have a little chat alone with him for a bit. Would you mind? Yeah, go ahead. Call me if anything happens. Oshi, after basically forcing Dr. Irie outside, shut the door. How are you feeling? I did something I'm not used to, so I'm pretty banged up all over. Oshi brought over a folding chair and was leaning against the wall and sat down beside the bed. Were the perpetrators arrested? Unfortunately, no. They're probably already fled the prefecture, or are being hidden by the villagers. Well, we won't let them get away. What about the minister's grandson? They're taking care of him at the station. But your colleagues from Tokyo are rather insistent that nothing be recorded. Shige-chan doesn't like that too much. Ha ha. The kidnapping was a confidential matter, so his custody was also probably being kept under wraps. How the kidnapping of the minister's grandson would be handled, how it would be covered up, treated like it never happened, would be handled by the brass. If this case ended up with our nation going into an uproar about it, then our job had been done. The possibility that the minister had negotiated with the perpetrators couldn't be ruled out. You back in a bit, still listening? Aye. But something like that was no longer my concern. My role in this case was over. Sorry for the trouble. You must think that public safety is rather unseemly place, don't you? No, no. We all work on government's dime. Oshi laughed boisterously. When we first met, I was somewhat prejudiced against Oshi, but now that the feeling was gone completely. It would be more convenient for us if this case was handled properly instead of being hidden away. If that happened, we would be able to have something to go on with the Sonozaki family with, since they're behind it and all. Well, if we just start poking around, we'll get all sorts of pressure put on us, though. What a mess. Are you gonna continue to fight against the Sonozaki family after this? Nah. There's all sorts of dark rumors swirling around them, but it's not like I have a personal grudge. It'd be wise not to step on any toes there. Ah. Oh, she laughed happily, and I couldn't help but laugh along. Oh, that's right. There was word at the station from the prefectural police. Your colleagues arrived at Nagoya and are driving up here right now. You got your battle scars, so you're being recalled to Tokyo, apparently. That's how it's shaken up. Good job. Your work in Okinomiya is safely over. I was being recalled to Tokyo. I inadvertently breathed a sigh of relief when I heard those words. I'm deeply thankful for your cooperation, Oshi-san. Seems the collaboration fee I paid didn't go to waste. I kind of meant that as a joke, though. Oshi took out his wallet, casually pulled out the several large bills, and jammed them into the breast pocket of my shirt. This isn't a refund on the collaboration fee, you hear? This is just me gifting you a little extra spending money. The booze around here is pretty good. Use this to buy yourself a little souvenir. Oshi flashed me a grin. If your injuries turn out to be not too serious, call me before you head back to Tokyo, yeah, will ya? The old man, Sato-san, said he'd like to sit at a table with you again. Oh my, can't refuse that. And no tricks this time. Just some plain old fun. They always say that. This world is done for if an active officer can cheat that blatantly. It's not often that we meet someone who's more than a match for us. It's too bad you're going back to Tokyo. When I heard the words going back to Tokyo from Oshi, I was reminded once again that I was relieved from my duties. Soon Yuki will be giving birth. It might still be possible to attend the delivery that I had once given up on. When I thought that, the pain from my injuries became trivial. I wanted to hurry back to Tokyo and see Yuki again, once more. Can you pretend that your injuries are a little bit more serious? Hang around Okinomiya for a bit? I can introduce you to a few nice places. Of course, I won't make you pay for everything. I'm terribly sorry, but I have to take a rain check on that. My wife is due to give birth any day now. I want to hurry back home. Oh ho, oh my. I didn't know that. Then you shouldn't be hanging around here. You have to hurry back home. For a while after that, Oshi asked all sorts of questions about my wife, teasing and bantering with me. Well then, how do you feel? Think you can get up? Yeah, it's not so bad, thanks to you. I can get up and walk, no problem. I stood up and shuffled around for a bit, which seemed to amuse Oshi. Nah, I just thought that you might not feel comfortable in a hospital in Hinamizawa. Dr. Uri said he wanted you to stay overnight, but we still haven't caught those perpetrators. For the time being, this is enemy territory for you, after all. Are you saying the hospital isn't safe? Nah. Well, Dr. Uri is somebody who is well regarded in the community. I don't think anything will happen while you're here, but I'm more worried about your mental health. I had relaxed a bit now, and things had progressed this far, but it was exactly as Oshi had said. When I realized that this was enemy territory, I suddenly felt uncomfortable. With the only thing left for me to do to leave, the chance that I would come up to harm was logically fairly low. But I didn't mean that I was completely safe. That's right. If I'm just going to be lying down, then doing it in a hotel bed wouldn't be all that different. Right? I also think it's for the best. At that moment, I caught a glimpse of the clock over Oshi's shoulder. It was the evening. The hours when I would call Yuki at the hospital were almost over. I wanted to tell her as quickly as possible that I'd be back to her side. I want to call Yuki at the hospital. Is there a public phone in the lobby? You newlyweds are all like this. If I recall correctly, there's one by the register. I'll be waiting here, so go ahead. Oshi, laughing while saying that he was jealous, opened up the window and pulled out a cigarette, even though he was still in the hospital room. Appreciative at how considerate Oshi was, I set out to the lobby to find the phone. The lobby was just short distance down the hallway from the hospital room. I thought that this hospital was a bit too grand for a village like this, but of course, it was nothing compared to the general hospital Yuki was admitted to. Running inside a hospital wasn't the best of manners, but calling hours would soon end, so I dashed over in a hurry. There was nobody else in the lobby. It may have been the evening, but there was nobody at the reception desk. Well, this might actually be lucky for me. I wasn't planning on having a conversation to feel guilty about, but it would still be embarrassing to have someone listen in to the conversation between me and Yuki. Taking a quick look around, I soon found the payphone. Digging around in my pockets, I grabbed out a few coins. I was calling Tokyo from here, so I would burn through the amount fairly quickly. I picked up the receiver, inserted a coin, and then dialed the number for Yuki's hospital, which I had completely memorized at that point. Ring, ring, ring. The number for Yuki's hospital had a lot of 8s and 9s, so dialing it was inevitably taking time. Normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but currently any time was precious. However, I felt that something was strange as I was dialing that number. I don't know exactly how to put it, but it was as if the receiver was too quiet. That unique white noise from the telephone line, it wasn't there. Somehow I felt that I wasn't getting any feedback from the phone. Without feeling a response, I hung up the receiver and tried again. The coin popped out from the return slot. I reinserted the coin and began dialing again, but the receiver was still dead silent. What is this? Is it disconnected? While I was wasting time like this, the amount I had to spend talking with Yuki had shrunk. I began to feel needlessly impatient. Excuse me. I felt the presence of someone on the other side of the glass, so I called out. There was an immediate response, and a man who seemed like a pharmacist came over. Yeah, how can I help? Pardon me. This phone seems to be acting a little strange. Could you take a look at it? The man came over and tried testing various things with the receiver pressed to his ear. Come to think of it, this was someone who worked at the hospital, not someone from the phone company. Just as I didn't know much about phones, neither would he. Huh? What's this? The man held the cord that connected the phone to the wall. It was completely severed. The heck is that? Well, this is a dilly of a pickle. Can't do anything with this until somebody from the phone company comes and fixes it. If you're looking for a phone, do you want to use the one in the office? I didn't want the people in the hospital office around while I was talking. Is there another payphone close by? Let's see. If you leave here and follow the road, you'll come to the shopping district. I think there's a smoke shop on the corner around there. If you head that way, you should be able to find one soon enough. I was dressed in a hospital gown. I was wearing sandals on my feet. My head was wrapped in bandages. Just looking at me, you could tell I was a hospital patient. No matter how you looked at it, I was not dressed to be wandering around outside. But that's where the impetuousness of youth came in. Choosing the chance to talk to Yuki for even a little longer, I headed outside in my current state. Follow the road to the shopping district. Should be able to find one soon enough. With only those 2 lines as my guide, I ran outside the gates of the hospital. With the village nestled in a valley, when the sun set, it got dark, quickly. The sparse streetlights lit up enough to start attracting moths. The Higurashi, knowing that the time for their chorus was soon at close, redoubled their fragile cries. Finding the payphone wasn't as easy as the person at the hospital had suggested. Was it still up ahead? Did I miss it? Was I just getting further away? Just as I was about to be crushed by the wave of uncertainty towering over me, I found a shop at the corner, cigarettes written on a small sign. My joy spurred me onwards. Just as I had heard the hospital set next to the counter of the cigarette shop was an antiqued payphone. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I didn't know what time it was. I probably didn't have much time left, though. But it was enough. Just as long as I could tell Yuki my job was done and I could be coming home soon. Swear he didn't die. Hi, Risu! Glad you made it. Glad you're not dead. Oof. Picking up the receiver, I slid a coin down the slot. And I felt something was strange, just like at the hospital. Even after inserting the coin, the phone showed no response. hung up the receiver and tried putting the coin in one more time. There's absolutely no response. The phone was dead. It couldn't be. Thinking that, I felt along the cord protruding from the back of the phone. Doing that, my hands found the end of a completely severed line. What is this? Having now had the same thing happen twice, my befuddlement and accompanied by a sense of unease. It seemed that the cord had been severed cleanly with a sharp blade of some sort. And I may be mistaken, but it didn't look like much time had passed since it was cut. Excuse me? Hello? Opening up the booth window of the tobacco shop, I looked for someone in the dimly lit interior. Eventually, there were sounds of somebody toddling down some stairs, and an old lady appeared. The old lady's plodding and lethargic steps, for some reason, only served to make me more frantic. You need some cigarettes? I'll need to get my husband. I'm not here for cigarettes. Or rather, this phone here. Realizing that saying the phone was broken and asking them to take a look at was going to get me nowhere, I swallowed back my words. Sorry. It seems this phone is broken. I was just wondering if you could tell me where there's another payphone. The old lady moved her jaw up and down slowly, as if chewing on the meaning of my words. It seemed like she wouldn't understand unless she had digested things thoroughly. So, the phone's broken? That's a dilly of a pickle. You should try another payphone. The old lady directed me to another payphone that seemed quite a ways away. Her way of telling me this so long-winded that I inadvertently started to get impatient. At that moment, I spotted a clock in the dim interior of the store. The minute hand was just about to point straight up. Even if there was a phone right here that I could use, I'd only be able to tell Yuki goodnight by the time I had left. Top of that, my destination was a remote payphone, which didn't know exact distance to. If I was in a normal state of mind, deciding to give up today would have been the natural thought process. But at that moment, I had become somewhat stubborn for some reason. Unable to use the phone in the hospital, and coming up on here was being unable to use one. There was no mistaking that I had become quite insistent on using a phone. Thank you very much. I'll try looking for that phone booth. Refusing her offer to draw me a map, I left the tobacco shop. According to the old lady, even though the phone booth was quite far away, it would be easy to find. If I just followed the road straight down, I'd eventually find it. Sandals flapping as I ran, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. I'll admit that I was quite the steadfast about calling Yuki. There were days when I'd try tired and busy when I wouldn't call her. Even today, my entire body was covered with injuries, and I was dead tired. On top of that, there wasn't much time left. It wouldn't be strange at all if today was one of those days that I didn't call her. But having twice been foiled trying to call her, had I become somewhat hot-headed about it? Was I like a dog who was being told to stay with a piece of food dangling in front of my face? What am I doing? Even so, I somehow couldn't quell the uneasy feeling sitting in the pit of my stomach. It was like that with the hospital phone and the same with the one at the tobacco shop. Both cords were definitely not severed from being frayed over the long years of use. The clean cuts indicated that someone had taken something sharp and deliberately cut them. But who? For what reason? The more I thought about it, the uneasier I felt, so I tried to push the thought aside. How much had I run so far? The scenery around me was no longer that of the shopping district, but with residential buildings scattered about on a lonely road. Their surroundings had already grown dark. I was blatantly out too far for a quick phone call. It was quite obvious that I was far removed from the hospital. I recalled the clock I saw at the tobacco shop. It might almost beat the time. I had to run for quite a bit, so my breathing had grown quite ragged. If I had just wanted to hear Yuki's voice, I should have just thrown away my reservations and borrowed the phone in the office. I regretted it a little. Well then, was it about time to give up? Just when I thought that, I saw the light in front of me. I had finally found it. It was the phone booth. It seemed that the light at the phone booth had recently been charged, and it shone with a vivid white light. Although, in the gloom of Hinamizawa, it was nothing more than a gathering spot for moths. But in any case, I had finally found it. As my hand touched the door of the phone booth, I realized that I was breathing and sweating heavily. I didn't know what time it was right now, but even if it was just for a moment, I might be able to get in touch with Yuki. Since I had spent all this effort getting here, turning back without even giving it a try was out of the question. Before I picked up the receiver, another wave of uneasiness washed over me. I was worried that this phone cord might have been severed as well. How was this cord in the phone booth? Squatting down, I followed the bundle of cables as they ran along the corner of the ceiling. At a glance, nothing was out of the ordinary. I ran my fingers as far as they could along the line to check it out. The only thing I found was a thick layer of dust. Nothing out of the ordinary. I wonder if it was popular in Hinamizawa to cut the cords of payphones as some sort of tasteless prank. It might be prudent to talk to Oshi-san about this later. Even if it was nothing more than a prank, it was still vandalism of public property. In any case, this one was fine. This time. Pulling out a coin from my pocket with one hand, I picked up the receiver with the other. But this time, before the receiver even reached my ear, I felt something was off. The receiver was light. It was more than slightly unpleasant feeling. It was almost sickening. To verify the source of my displeasure, I peered at the receiver with my hand with a measure of reluctance. The hell is this? The coiled cord that connected the receiver to the rest of the phone had been ripped apart, and the tip of the cable swaying in the air. It was all I could do to restrain myself as a raw and unpleasant feeling worked its way up in a small way of my back. It was a type of dread. At that moment, I heard the crunch of somebody stepping on gravel. The light was reflecting off the glass walls of the booth, leaving me unable to see outside into the darkness. I steeled myself and stepped out of the phone booth. The inside of the booth was lit with a strong light, which meant it made it warmer in there. Just stepping outside, I could feel a chill wash over me. And there was the silhouette of a person. A small silhouette. The long hair of the silhouette was blown about by the cool breeze. Injured people shouldn't be sneaking out of the hospital. Somewhere in my head, I knew who the girl was. I didn't have any bias for it, but I knew she was that girl. Right, Akasaka? She, Rika Furude, said that almost like it was a warning. Did you do this to the phone cord? Her expression remained unchanged, and my question was left unanswered. In other words, no response. Regardless, I felt that she had affirmed my suspicions. Why? Why would you do something like this? Why? The last word had a tinge of anger behind it. I frantically tried to smooth things out, but she didn't seem very afraid. There's nothing that can be done. Huh? I interpreted her words as meaning that I wasn't going to be in time for calling hours at the hospital. But thinking about it, that would have been a strange thing to say. Why would she know something like that? I could take what she had said to me any other meaning. She just stood there like a mannequin, not even moving an inch. Almost to the point that if the wind wasn't occasionally rustling through her long hair, there would be the illusion that time had stopped. I know very well that you think I'm disgusting, Akasaka. Huh? No? That's not true. My denial came out almost like a bad piece of compose for Poetry Slam. But her words were right on the mark. I had always felt something ominous and uncanny about her, ever since her strange threats at the shrine. She had noticed that my expression was contrary to my words, seemingly laughing at the gap between them. Akasaka, you coward. I'm no coward. Being laughed at by this small child didn't sit well with me, so I said that. Even if you find another phone, it's too late. That's right. She didn't even have to say it. I was absolutely too late. I might have already missed calling hours even by the time I reached the phone booth. I was too late, and I had no option but to give up for today. Once I decided that, my unhealthy obsession with phones suddenly faded. Even if I thought that it was strange that I was obsessed. The strange obsession now gone, I began to laugh at how hopeless I was. I mean, just look at what I was wearing. It just wasn't normal. Hospital gown and sandals, my head wrapped in bandages, my body completely soaked with sweat. It was a wonder that the old lady at the tobacco shop wasn't surprised to see me. With wanting to hear Yuki's voice as my motive, I had traipsed around town the entire evening. I didn't know whether to call it a follies of youth or simply plain embarrassing. In any case, it was all I could do but laugh at myself. Now, there's nothing left for Akasaka to do tonight. Yeah, you're right, there's nothing. I'll just quietly return to the hospital. That's fine. Do you know the way? I hope I do. She waved her little hand as I began to head back the way I came. She began to follow alongside me. Looking at her face, I could see that she wore a mischievous smile, as if she was extremely interested in whether or not I could get lost. Is Rika-chan's house also this way? It is. Won't your parents be mad if you're walking around alone at this hour? Not really. My parents are busy today, so they probably forgot about me. Even then, it's best if you head home. They'll definitely be angry. Even if they are, it's much more interesting to talk with Akasaka, so I'm fine. She said that with a face free from worry as she looked up at me once more and smiled. When she showed me that smile, that eerie feeling surrounded her fading. But even then, she was still mysterious as ever. We arrived at the corner I'd turned at earlier, but it was much darker than before, and with the point of view changed in the return trip, I wasn't very confident that this was actually the corner I turned at. There's not a mistake. It had to be this corner. As I began to move my feet again, the girl grabbed onto my clothes. Isn't Akasaka going back to the hospital? Of course, at least I intended. Am I going the wrong way? A short moment of silence. Eventually, still holding onto my clothes, she began to walk. It was the beginning of a walk to the hospital this mysterious girl would take me on. Ooh. Ooh. You have the cold or flu? Oof. That's rough, buddy. Oh, and then he got... yeah, and then I died. The end. The person who was running around cutting all the phone cords was... It was you, wasn't it, Rika-chan? You shouldn't do that anymore. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Really? She tried to play dumb, but it was written all over her face. Thanks for the book. Wait, it's not finished? Oh my. Yeah, surprisingly, we're not dead yet. Nipa! It was obvious she was trying to laugh it off, but that adorable smile of hers just made me want to forgive her. Nah, I'm gonna be a horrible father, aren't I? The momentary lapse in tension was erased by her next words. It's good that they found the grandson safe and sound. Unable to respond right away, I sunk into silence. I had already learned this from Sato-san's info, didn't I? This girl, no, this entire village, knew everything since the moment I set foot in it. I considered playing dumb, but in the end I chose not to. With everything barely being known already, there was no point in me feigning ignorance. Somehow. That's great. Now you can go back to Tokyo. Thank you. Are your injuries bad, Akasaka? Don't know. I haven't heard anything from the doctor yet, so I don't know if they are or not. Huh? Come to think of it, I vaguely remembered being told to lie down and take it easy for at least 24 hours. Did that mean bed rest? The wounded shouldn't be sneaking out of a hospital. And people shouldn't be cutting phone cords. Me. I have no idea what you're talking about. Then I don't know what you're talking about either. As we played dumb with each other, we both laughed at the same time. If somebody saw us laughing at each other like this, it would probably bring a smile to their lips. The chances of Akasaka leaving this village alive weren't very high. I don't want Akasaka to die. So I'm glad you're leaving the village alive. Rika-chan, did you know what I was? Right from the beginning? She said nothing, but gave a firm nod. Well then, I think you know this, but we're probably somewhat of an enemy to the people of this village, I'd think. But you still gave me lots of warnings. That's right. She said it at that time. She wouldn't warn somebody that she was okay with dying. She definitely said something like that. Then I should probably be thanking you. You probably should. I'm your savior. Saying that, she puffed up her chest proudly. She said it jokingly, but the meaning behind those words were quite heavy. And that was because whether I lived or died was a decision that might have been made in the place of unbeknownst to me. She said those words with such an adorable smile that it took me a few moments of silence for their weight to really settle in. I'd been to this place before. The Defense Alliance's office was there. It was the stone steps leading up to the Furude Shrine. When I passed by before, I was so focused on finding a phone booth that I hadn't realized where I was. If I recall correctly, this shrine is Rika-chan's house, right? Yeah, something like that. Looking up at the shrine grounds, it was brightly lit, with energetic voices can be heard. What was going on? There's a festival today. A festival? The best and only festival in Hinamizawa. The Watsunagashi Festival. Watsunagashi? Like cotton drifting? Just knowing the name is boring. Do you want to take a look? She asked bluntly. But seeing that I looked interested, she climbed up a couple of steps and motioned for me to come. I was only going to go back to sleep anyways. If I had nothing else to do, it might not be a bad idea to go with her on this little detour. In the hostile territory that was the village, I didn't know what would happen if I ventured down a side road without Oshi. Even though I thought the village liked that, when I was with this girl, I forgot all about it. In any case, even without anything to back it up, I felt that as long as I was with her, none of the ill will from the village would befall me. That's why even though I knew my cover was blown, I strangely had no qualms about setting foot into the heart of the Onikakushi Defense Alliance's territory. Climbing up the grounds to the shrine, I could see that there were about 3 pavilions set up, with meeting tables and folding chairs. The old folks from the village, no, the executives of the Defense Alliance, were already quite drunkenly sharing another round of drinks. I could only see it as people from the village council drinking while enjoying the evening air. At the very least, it was certainly quite different from the festival I had ever seen. See? It's quite a boring festival, isn't it? No, this certainly doesn't look like a festival. It's a festival that's happened since long ago, but as you can see, it's not like it used to be. As if to chide the old folk, she said that while looking at them with unexasperated expression. You really couldn't call this a festival anymore. It was just a bunch of neighbors getting together to drink and under the guise of a festival. I feel sorry for the deity that's being celebrated here. Give this sorry excuse to a festival 5 or 6 more years, then everyone in the village will start coming. The ceremony will also be done properly. It'll be a respectable festival again. But she said that it was not much wishful thinking, as it was telling me a future that had already been determined. She wasn't even predicting it. It was almost like she was simply reporting the results. That's how it sounded. Even though it was a baseless speculation, the way she said it, it wouldn't let me interject. It was the same way she talked when she changed. While I struggled to find the words to reply to her, she wandered over to the other side of the grounds, not minding me at all. Not in the state where I could afford to be left behind, I hurriedly followed after her. Passing through the copse of pine trees, a strong and cool breeze ruffled my hair. There, from that one evening, was the splendid observation platform the girl had shown me. As it had grown completely dark, the modest lights littered across the nightscape were providing a different type of scenery. Looking at it like this, the village seems tranquil. She said that with an indifferent look on her face. Just the other day, you said that this village definitely wouldn't be submerged by the dam, didn't you? She didn't reply, seeming relishing in the feeling of the wind blowing through her hair. Didn't that mean at that point in time the minister had already complied with the demands? She spun around, her gaze meeting mine. She said nothing. She spoke nothing that would neither confirm nor deny what I had just said. This case will probably remain shrouded in darkness. Headquarters probably doesn't want trouble from a scandal with the minister breaking out. There's no mistake that they threatened to kill the grandchild. The negotiations with the minister were successful and the grandson was released. The one who saved the grandson was you. I wonder about that. The discovery of that wallet and started the chain of events. That alone was almost too convenient, I'd think. Ever since that moment when the wallet was discovered, I felt something was odd. I wish she said it as well. The Sonozaki family had given the order to release the hostage, meaning that our little manhunt was a farce to begin with. And come to think of it, I was punched, kicked, and had a gun pointed at me. I felt like they put up quite a fight, but that might have been all part of the good performance. Once the negotiations were successful, they couldn't just say, "Here you go," and return the minister's grandson right to his doorstep. They knew that public safety had realized that this was a kidnapping case and were moving in on it. That's why, due to the actions of public security, and the grandson was able to be rescued safely. So the minister didn't give in to any unreasonable demands. That type of performance was necessary. I don't know about these difficult things. Likewise, even for me, I can't make much sense of it. There's one thing I can be certain of. It's just as you said. This village won't be submerged. The dam project will soon be over. That wasn't something an officer of the law should be saying. But I naturally let those words slip from my mouth. This village, it may have stirred up all sorts of trouble, but that was because they were protecting their homes. If someone just decided by themselves that I had to leave the house I was used to living in, I'd resent them as well. On top of that, it wasn't a place like mine where I just happened to be renting it, but a place that their families had lived in for generations. It might be ignorant to call this a desperate resistance and overreaction. I might not really be qualified to criticize politics or bureaucracy, but deliberately building a dam on land that was loved by its residents wasn't something I could get behind. Still, aren't you glad? Why would that be? At the very least, with this, peace will return to the village. Even though the minister promised to use his considerable influence to cancel the project, it would probably take more than a few months before it would probably completely be scrapped. At the very least, it would probably take 1 or 2 years. For the villagers to officially hear that their village wasn't going to be submerged at the bottom of the dam was still a ways away. But it was no mistake that the promise of peace returning to the village was there. It turned out from the beginning to the end that I had already been decided. Just as the girl said, it was decided. There wasn't really a need for me to come here in the first place. There was absolutely no need for me to come here and aggravate an unpleasant situation. If I had never come here, then the grandson's release might have been done in a more amicable manner. Peace? In this village? When I nodded, she laughed as if to admonish me, but her face remained indifferent, expressionless. And then her eyes narrowed slightly as she snickered. Even though every year from now on, something bloody will occur. Rika-chan, what are you talking about? As the wind blew her hair about, the girl, as if taking pleasure in what I said, only one who didn't know, continued to snicker as she looked at my face for a while. You see, in a few years, I'll be killed. Huh? Backlit by the moon, it was hard to tell if her expression had been cast in shadow, was smiling and amused, or resigned. You are? Why? It's a very unpleasant thing, though. It's also probably been decided already. Decided already? Who would decide that sort of thing? I'd like to know as well. Turning back to face me, she showed me a resolute expression for the first time. And after staring into my eyes for a moment, she turned back to the gaze of the scenery before she spoke her next words. There's a lot of people who have no regard for human life. Even if I tell you this, it might not change anything, though. But if you want to erase the specter of death, sometimes, like with the reflection of the moon on the water, all you have to do is throw a small stone. I had no idea what she was trying to say. It's just, I had to listen to every word with my body and soul, or at least that's what I thought. This day, next year. Yes, June 1979, on this day. The foreman of the dam construction project will be killed. What? For a moment I couldn't comprehend what she was talking about. By the foreman, did she mean the gruff old man I was playing mahjong with? But be killed? What makes you think? She didn't answer. But she had the same expression on her face as she did when she declared that the dam project would go away. That wasn't the face of somebody making a forecast or a prediction. It was something that was already decided. No, it was as if she was already reporting the results. It was that kind of expression. After being killed in a gruesome manner, the body will be torn apart and disposed of. Murdered and dismembered? The next year, June 1980, on this day, Satoko's parents will be pushed to their deaths. Satoko? It was the first time I had heard that name, but I didn't really have the courage to interrupt the girl's story. It might be an accident. An unfortunate accident. The girl smiled faintly, but she wasn't exactly encouraging me to smile along with the lifeless look in her eyes. And then, the year after that, this day, June of 1981, my parents will be killed. And then the year after that, this day of June of 1982, Satoko's abusive aunt will have her head split open and die. And then the year after that, this day in June of 1983, or possibly a few days after, I will be killed. If all the deaths are preordained, then the last one will also be all according to plan. But then whose plan would it be? This village is full of murderers and people who have no regard for human life. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths up until 1982 would be the work of somebody in the village. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths that would occur here were a discretion of those under control of the village. But that didn't explain what would happen in 1983. There was no way with that last death would fit into anybody's plans. They had no regard for human life. They would use every means at their disposal to meet their goals. But their goals were at odds with the last death. That's why the last death was unrelated to them. But the last death would definitely, most likely, probably, without question, happen. Probably, definitely, I dare say. The last death would be a merciful one. A handkerchief or something being placed over their mouth, making them lose consciousness, never to wake up again. Exactly whose plan was that? I want to live happily. That's my only wish. Surrounded by my precious friends, spending our days enjoyably. Only that. I don't wish for anything more than that. Rika-chan, I don't want to die. The girl, stoic as ever, let those last words slip at the end. Eventually, we were discovered by some drunks. The girl, as well as I, were dragged back to the festivities. Everybody was completely drunk, so even when they saw my head completely wrapped in bandages, they wouldn't let me leave. Well, certainly, if it was good enough condition to slip out of the hospital, I must not be that serious. The girl was mingling with everybody, being pampered like a kitten. Her expression was adorable, nothing like the one that had just been before, predicting her own death and whispering that she didn't want to die. Having said that, having a silly and lively conversation like this, it was hard to believe that these people were the core of the extremist resistance group. Even it was the shell of its former self. It was a festival that people in the village gathered, so the 20-some odd folk that should have included some of the village executives and other important members. The search for the payphone got really dark, yeah. It got dark real fast, huh? Among those, there was no doubt that there were members that were in the Sonozaki family council in attendance. Meaning, even if we never met face-to-face before, there were people who knew my identity. In a small village like this, they knew the faces of all the villagers that lived there. That's why, without even saying anything, it soon became obvious that I was an outsider. But they actually seemed interested by that, asking me all sorts of questions about Tokyo. Drinking, while musing in the faint relationship with the city, had the villagers empathizing with rather than meager environment. The confidential talks with the minister were finished. His grandson was police custody. Everything was over. I might not have been able to put another perilous situation. To me, they were only the adversaries because of my job. Outside of that, there was no reason I couldn't be friendly with them. The next time I visited this village, would it return to being tranquil and beautiful place? If that happened, I might be able to take a relaxed walk around the village with her again. My cup was once again filled to the brim with beer. By the time I was able to get away, it was the middle of the night. The girl had at some point disappeared. It seems that her parents had told her to go home and sleep, and she let out a huge yawn. The old folks, who had absolutely no remorse for making an injured person hang out with them, told me as much as they laughed. It was just they are drinking, so I had my thought to help a bit clean up. However, my help was refused on the grounds that I was a guest. On top of that, they had a car prepared to take me back to the hospital. Losing the battle against my sleepiness inside the car, I was sound asleep until we reached the parking lot of the hospital. The front door of the hospital was naturally locked at this hour. I wandered around bewildered, searching for a back entrance until somebody on night guard found me and let me inside. Where were you this late in the night? Dr. Irio was worried, you know. Oh, sorry for the trouble. I got held up by the people having a festival at the shrine. Oh, they did say something about everybody in the town council getting together for a drink. My condolences. Are your wounds alright? They're throbbing a bit. It's probably because of the alcohol, I think. Ah, that's right. The detective that was with you wanted to get in touch. Oops. I kept Oshi-san waiting. I glanced at the clock. No matter how you looked at it, it was way too late to call him now. I'll apologize to him tomorrow over the phone. I returned back to my hospital room and slipped into the bed. It was still unmade from the time I went outside. That's no good. I have to turn off the lights. But my weariness had cut the cord powering my body, lulling me into a deep sleep. And then he dies. No, Reese. Oh boy. Oh boy. Prophecy of the beginning. You heard her prediction was the achievement this time. Oh, man. Beautiful BGM it really is, huh? Chapter 5 done, baby. Pachi, 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 huh? It's a nice little short one, huh? So she predicted her own death from the last book? Kinda. She says that on that year she dies. I mean, granted, we haven't seen her die in every single book. But according to her, she dies on that year every time in the loop. Looks like we get to end this chapter on a good note. Yeah, we do. Be a shame if that ended as soon as we started reading again. Yeah, it's so happy and nice. Gosh, it's like everything's just getting wrapped up so cleanly. Be a shame if something horrible happens, huh? Huh? Anyway. I fully expected him to die. Well, don't worry, we got another chapter. Don't worry, we got another chapter. And now you guys are finally starting to see the meat of Higurashi, yeah? Shame, Wolfette, Muffin, Antimatter, they're not here. They weren't here. You guys get to be like, haha, I know the secret now. That Rika knows everything. This Saturday I'll be able to catch your stream. Oh, hell yeah! Yay! Yippee! I heard that. Oh, shit. Hi, Antimatter. You made it just in time for us to end the chapter. Yeah! How did he appear? We spoke his name and he appeared. But yeah, we got the big reveal this chapter, so that was neat. That was neat. I was summoned. Nice, nice. Just in time for me to wrap it up. VOD time, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Normally I'm not like, you have to go watch the VOD, guys. But like, this one, there's actually big shit that happened, so you know, I would recommend VOD Squad. Like the other day when you guys said balls. Yeah, yeah. Back when whenever Rusu wasn't in the video, I'd just be like, balls, and he'd be like, yes. I heard balls. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. But yes, I know this was like ridiculously short, but I'm gonna take it and take a knee. Cause like I'm so scared that the finale chapter is gonna be so fucking long. Like that one, like in the, what is it, the second book? The last chapter took us 3 hours. I just heard someone talking shit, so I'm here. It's fair. Heard you talking shit, but when I roll up, you shut your mouth, huh? In pain, yeah. It's true. Jose is definitely in pain. My throat hurts. I'm tired. Almost a little grateful that this book has shorter chapters. Because I know damn well that's going to change in the next book. We'll be back to having 2 hour, 3 hour length chapters. And yeah, the next one should be the last chapter, if I'm remembering right, for this book. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a longer one. Oh yeah, and Risu's dying, so we got that going on too. Sag, yeah. So anyway, guys, let me wrap it up here for real, alright? As always, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Thank you. Alright, next stream will be... should we say Thursday night? I didn't make a waiting room or anything yet. I don't think tomorrow. Wednesday or Thursday. I'll have a waiting room up probably sometime tomorrow, and then you'll know for sure. But Wednesday or Thursday, I don't know what we're doing yet. I'll decide tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thanks. I mean, if all else fails, Friday night we'll do something. But like, I'm pretty sure we'll stream another night this week. For sure. So if I don't see you in the next one, I'll see you when I see you. Okay. Alright, Lamb Chops. You have a good night. A good evening. And bye-bye!